Alright guys, this is my new project car. This is a 91 BMW 750iL. I got it off of my good buddy for a pretty good price. He ended up giving me an extra set of wheels and tires with it. It definitely needs a little bit of love, but I think it would be a pretty good project car. Now before I get started, I would like to wash this thing because obviously it's got a little bit of mold on it and it's been sitting for a while. I don't actually know how long it's been sitting, but I know it needs a good wash and I know that it needs a little bit of preventative maintenance. This car does run, but it does spew out a lot of fuel. And when I mean a lot, I mean a lot of fuel. So after I get this thing cleaned up, I'm gonna drop that gas tank, see if I can fix that fuel leak. Without further ado, let's get to it. Well, now I'm starting to think that the gas is not even reaching the engine. I mean, I've got it to turn over quite a lot now and it still will not start. It won't even sputter. So I'm starting to think that it's actually leaking out so much gas that it can't reach the engine. Alright, I got the car in the garage and let me show you what I'm finding. So I took the little access panel off to get to the fuel pump, which you can see right here. It's underneath the carpet that's in the back trunk. And as you can see, it's dry. So that's telling me that one of these lines here are probably leaking up underneath here somewhere. I'm assuming it must be crimped and it's slowly worn a hole into it. Also, these hose clamps kind of don't look like they are OEM. I could be wrong, but that definitely looks like this tank has been dropped once before, so I'm going to assume that this red hose is also not OEM. Again, I could be completely wrong. I've never owned a BMW before, but I'm just going to take the assumption that this tank has been dropped before and that one of these lines are crimped underneath here and that it's just pouring fuel somewhere up here. Alright, well, I haven't dropped the tank yet. I still have the car just off the ground, and just looking up in there, I'm thinking that might be my problem. I think that these are supposed to be the evap lines, because I can't really tell where exactly they do go, but looking over here, I've got like two little filters or canisters here. I can't honestly tell which one's which. That's a huge wasp nest. I can't tell exactly which one's like a resend line or a return line. This line here is, as you can see, is that green, is the green hose right here that comes up. That looks like an OEM fitting. Hose clamp, little metal piece, another hose, then It just keeps getting better as it goes up. So I don't know exactly which one of these is leaking, but I'm going to take a wild guess and say that that's probably my issue. So I'm going to try to see if I can cycle over the car, sacrifice the neutral smell of the garage, and see if that's my issue. Alright, I've cycled over the car a few times, and funny enough, it's obviously not wanting to leak because I want to get it on video. I do not see any wet spots anywhere. I smell it. I definitely do smell it, but I do not see anywhere underneath here where it's leaking fuel. None of this is wet. I don't know if it's because the car is jacked up in the rear. I really don't know. But nothing is leaking, of course. So I guess I'm just gonna have to drop the tank because I think that hole up in there, that's something that's not gonna fix itself. So I might as well go ahead and drop this, see if I can figure out where exactly this leak is coming from, because I'm starting to think that it might be coming from up there somewhere that I can't see. So let's go ahead and drop the tank and let's see what we find. So I got the grommet out over top of the filler neck. I've also been working on getting this real well out, which is sitting right there. I think I'm starting to get into too big of a project that I really want to deal with. But I'm assuming this is supposed to be a charcoal canister or maybe like something with the evap. That's what I'm going to take an assumption of. This is what that line connects to that's broke down here. So that one little nipple down there that's broke, well, it goes to this little tank. I'm probably going to have to drop this little tank here, which looks like it's just one bolt, and it's got two little pegs that hide there in the back. Might just take down that bolt, see if this whole thing can drop down a little bit, then after that I need to work on getting the fuel pump lines off. But yeah, this is definitely looking like a mess. Okay, never mind. I don't think I actually need to take that out for the fact that it's got two hoses at the top of it that I can't pretty much get off. So I'm gonna just put that back, and I think I'm just gonna cut the lines down here at the tank. Just say screw it, because I'm probably not gonna use it in the first place. Alright, I got all the hose clamps disconnected. I've got this wire harness also pulled off. I had to stick a screwdriver up in behind this and slide this little lock off of here. I got that pulled off, and yeah, this thing's definitely still got some pressure behind it. As I was, looking for leaks and all, I was thinking that this fuel pump may not have been working anymore, but just barely pulling on that line there, you see it's still got some pressure behind it. So I'm going to have to find a way to not make so much of a mess here with this, because yeah, it obviously is spewing out if I barely touch it. So let's figure that out. Alright, now the lines are off. I lined this one up with electrical tape so I can remember which one is actually supposed to be the lone one. But this red hose, like I said, I don't think this is a stock hose, but damn is it like thick. Like this hose did not want to crimp whatsoever, so I don't know if it's actually an old hose or somebody put this one on, because that one was a stiff hose. These other two black ones, though, they were pretty easy to get off. That red one, though, it didn't want to crimp. So now I need to go ahead and get the straps taken off, and I should be able to start lowering this tank. Well, she's finally out. I finally got in the mood to just say, cut it and figure it out later. Especially for this line right here, because I had no clue what BMW was thinking about sticking this through a dedicated hole in the wheel well. But this line is hard as can be, so I had no way of twisting and turning it. I felt like I was going to break that off if I kept prying at it. So now that it's off of here, I'll spray some WD-40 and see if I can get that line off, but I'll probably end up replacing it anyways. Especially with these little vent lines for the gas filler. Yeah, these two were definitely not moving. I was twisting and turning on the hoses. They weren't twisting and turning here. So, yeah, I just cut them. I'll figure it out later. So now, I'm going to check over this tank. This tank definitely stinks. I haven't found any visible holes yet, but I'm probably going to go ahead and take that fuel pump out and actually test it to see if it works. But as you saw earlier, it was building pressure, but I was not hearing the pump. So I'm kind of wondering if the pump somehow went out with me buying the car and waiting 2 weeks. Alright, it's been a couple hours since I've had this tank out, and after a bunch of diagnosis and trying to figure out if it's the tank or the line's leaking, I think I actually just concluded what it could be. This is one of the sending lines they had on there, and as you can see, or probably not for fuel. So as you can tell, this it's 8. I mean, I don't know why somebody would use this. I'm starting to think that that's exactly what is causing my leak, is this right here. I filled the tank up with fuel. I poured it over to this side. It's wet from where I spilled fuel trying to actually empty the tank because the drain is seized up. And yeah, the tank doesn't seem like it's leaking anywhere. There's internal piping to these little tips down here, so those are not leaking. Yeah, nothing else seems to be leaking on the tank. As far as I'm concerned, it seems good. That's just leaving me to believe that this hose is what's causing my headache. So what I'm going to do is, I guess, go buy me some new hose. I'm going to go ahead and replace both of them, because the other one doesn't look like it's in great a shape either. So I'm going to go ahead and replace both of them while I'm at it with actual fuel hose. And we'll see how it goes from there. Alright, it's now another day. I went down to AutoZone, got some new fuel line. I've got plenty enough to replace both sides. I also went and got some like heater hose, because that's about the only thing that you can find at this size, for the vent line for that filler tube. So the one that goes up top here and reaches to here. So I went ahead and bought about 2 feet worth of that. I think I bought about 5 feet worth of the regular fuel line. So I'm going to replace both of them. So now it's time to, I guess, get this tank back in here. The other thing that I started thinking about was the previous owner said that this thing would leak whenever he would fill it all the way up. The only thing that I can think of is that the O-ring that sits underneath here is definitely ate a little bit. So if I still notice that after I put this tank back in, that it's leaking after I fill it all the way up, I'm going to assume that that gasket's probably leaking. But at least with the access port that's inside the trunk, I could probably go ahead and get that replaced easily if that does leak. So I'm going to leave it for now because I can't easily get it. Alright, so my current task is to go ahead and replace all of these fuel lines. So I don't know how well you can see this, but this is the return line here. So it had several like connectors on them. So this line's still good. I kind of don't want to deal with this this OEM style hose clamp here, so I'm going to leave that one on. I snipped this one off at a new place because it was kind of dry rotted at the end. So I'm going to use one of the connectors that were already on it. Stick it back on here, and with the new hose that I bought, I'm going to run a new line from both of these fuel filters here. That's what these are. And I'm going to, I guess, guesstimate how far up they need to go. And then once I get the fuel tank in there, I'm going to route the hoses above, cut them off where they need to go, and hook them onto the fuel tank. Okay, so now I've got the system a little bit primed. I've been sitting there turning the key on and off, on and off. I've even tried to crank it over a few times. I still have yet to get it to actually like hit. It hit a few times, but it's not like it's wanting to start. I don't know if it still needs to suck the gas all the way through both filters or not. I do not see any leaks though, so there's no leaks up here yet. Nothing on the bottom side, so I guess I'm just gonna keep trying just to see if I can get this thing to start. Well, she ran for a second. No leaks yet that I can see. Let's try that again. Definitely's got quite the exhaust leak. I see some exhaust there, but the noise is quite far up there. But it's definitely still burning some of that old gas. It stinks like bad. She's running a little rough. I definitely need to check the fluids over. I don't know when any of the maintenance items were done on this. I don't know if spark plugs have been done on it or when. Sounds like she's running just a little rough though, so could use the tune-up. This thing's definitely gonna get an exhaust soon. And that about wraps up this video. I will be working on this BMW, getting the maintenance done in the next few weeks, and I will be trying to record most of what I find. I'm assuming it's definitely going to need a lot of work, especially that power steering system. When I looked into it, it looked like the previous owner and probably everyone else put the CHF11 in it instead of the 7.1. So we'll be fleshing that out, trying to get that system to work. As far as I'm concerned, that leveling system still works because it shot up when I put it in drive. So I guess I'll see how that works. We'll be checking the brakes and stuff. I did drive it around the yard a little bit, and that power steering pump is squealing away. So I'm going to try to get that rebuilt, try to get that fixed, and we'll see how it goes. So any questions, comments, concerns, please ask them below. And if you like more videos like this, please subscribe.